Tom Clark's 6M podcast is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show. Hey, what is up? Welcome to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark, and in this episode, I'm joined by co-host Phil Lindsey.
Bird and Magic. Talk about an iconic pair. Been a lot of iconic pairs in the NBA over the years. Jordan and Pippen, Stockton and Malone. Too many to name. How much time you got? I mean, there's dozens, if not 100 or more pairs. Just legends in their own time and legends of all time, especially when you talk about Bird and Magic. We've talked about the Bulls here on the 6M. We've talked about Allen Iverson and the Sixers. We've covered sports here before, but we've never really went in depth on the Lakers. The Lakers versus the Celtics. Or in other words, Magic and Bird. Some fans would argue a more iconic duo you will not find in any sport, regardless of whether or not it's just basketball, but any sport. That can be debated. I'm not here to do that. But I will tell you that growing up in the 80s, I was aware of Bird versus Magic. I knew it was always in the background. It was in my peripheral. I knew it existed. I wasn't into the NBA at that time. I didn't get into the NBA until Jordan. And then when I got in, I was in. And I was in for for pretty much the rest of the 90s. From 91, 92 on up until the time he retired and then came back to the Wizards. And then even afterward, I was still into it. Thanks to Jordan the Bulls, that's why I got into the NBA to begin with. But yes, I was very aware of Magic and Bird. And we're talking here today about Winning Time. Winning Time, the rise of the Lakers Dynasty. This show only had 2 seasons. And we're going to talk a little bit today about what we think, what worked, what didn't, maybe why it got canceled. And yes, spoiler alert, it's been canceled. We've gave it all away already. Good night, folks. No, so it's a lot of good stuff to get to here. A lot of things you may not know about the show. Some things maybe you know already. And we'll find out what everybody thinks, hopefully as you play along and follow along. Let's get cranking here. Winning Time, the rise of the Lakers Dynasty, is an American sports drama television series created by Max Borenstein and Jim Hecht for HBO based on the book Showtime, Magic, Kareem, Riley, and the Los Angeles Lakers Dynasty of the 1980s by Jeff Pearlman. The first season, comprising 10 episodes, chronicles the 1980s Showtime era of the Los Angeles Lakers basketball team beginning in late 79, featuring notable NBA stars Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It features an ensemble cast led by a constellation of stars we're going to get here to today. And man, there's a lot of people to talk about. The series premiered on March 6, 2022 with the pilot episode directed by Adam McKay. In April 2022, the season was renewed for a second season, which premiered on August 6, 2023. On September 17, 2023, it was announced, yes, the series was canceled after only 2 seasons and 17 episodes. And that is your lowdown on Winning Time, the rise of the Lakers Dynasty. So, Phil, you and I have talked about the Lakers and Celtics here in passing. I know we've talked about it off mic too, but especially in regards to the Bulls and what happened with that franchise on sort of hot on the heels of this rivalry being arguably one of the greatest of all time. Inarguably, I would submit. What's your thoughts on this show? Were you impressed with it? Were you happy with it? Did it go too far? Did it not go far enough? What's your overall take on Winning Time?
I was excited for it when I first saw the trailer for it, when it first hit. HBO does TV well. That's been a thing since Sopranos and like The Wire. They're just a channel that has done plenty to raise like the importance of television. They do quality television well. You can make a very strong argument that HBO was the point where TV started to get to the point where movie actors were coming to television and wanting to do television because the quality of television had just gotten that much better. And so I was excited for this, seeing the trailer for it, seeing the cast they had for it, and seeing that it was based around basketball. As a big basketball fan, I was like, oh yeah, I'm into this. And the first episode I watched, they have the super fire theme song by Boots Riley, which I was a big fan of. And after the first episode, I was in. I really enjoy what they did with Dr. Bus. Of course, it's not going to be like as close to a true story as possible because it's a dramatization. But I really enjoy it. I really enjoy the characters. I really enjoy the cast. I think it was just starting to find its legs by the end of the second season. And I won't even say it was starting to find its legs. It was just really starting to come along as a TV show. They still had so much more they could have done.
Well, we should point out for anyone listening who has maybe not dove into this show yet, that it is indeed, as Phil suggested, a dramatization. This is not an ESPN 30 for 30, Phil. They didn't exactly, well, I can't say they didn't fact check, but some facts they played with and they embellished, and that didn't go over too well with a lot of the people portrayed in this show. What's your take on that? Because, man, I'd say a great majority of these characters are still with us here today. Like, what's your thoughts on that? Do you bump into that at all, or do you think it's just for the sake of TV, just let them do what they're going to do?
I think it made for good TV, and it didn't bother me. I don't think any of it was that egregious where I was just like, this is shameful what they're doing. I can see it from both points of view. I can see that you're trying to make an entertaining television show. So, some things you're going to probably turn up the volume on or, embellish. But I can also see people who this show is actually about looking around like, no, this is some of my most embarrassing moments. I don't want to see people. I don't want people to see this in this light. Like, if you're Magic Johnson, for example, yeah, I'm sure some of the stuff you don't want to see people revisiting. I'm sure you would like to tell your side of the story.
I mean, to be fair, he had some sex in real life and on this show. So,
yeah, when you look at it, like some of the stuff with his relationships, some of the stuff with which would have led to like his HIV diagnosis. Mm-hmm. Maybe he didn't want that kind of stuff out there without being able to tell his side of it. I can see that. But like I said, none of this really bothered me enough where I'm like, oh, this is horrible. This is making this guy look bad. Like, I think one of the most outspoken people about it was Jerry West. Jerry West is very much like, that is not how I act. But at the same time, I think the Jerry West character on the show was very funny. And so it didn't bother me.
That first episode when he goes berserk on the golf course is a thing of beauty.
Yeah, it's great. And I think that they did a very good job of kind of giving us a layered character with him. It's not like if he was just like throwing like these big fits and like he was just yelling and cursing people out the entire show, and you didn't have like the complexities behind the character, I would have had more of an issue with it. But I think especially the episode from the first season where they really go into how much the rivalry with the Boston Celtics affected him and how much he hated losing and how much it like made him driven to be better and how much he wasn't satisfied even with the championship he won or the MVP that he won, controversially winning MVP even though he lost that final series. I think all of that stuff made for interesting television.
Oh, dude, I was here for it, and I thought he was fantastic. If he's telling the truth, the esteemed Jerry West, the logo, as we'll call him, if he's telling the truth and that's not him, that's disappointing, Phil, because I really want it to be him, because that guy's great.
Yeah. I think like most things, the truth is probably in the middle somewhere, because we have heard stories about him being very a very sore loser sometimes. We've also read things about him blowing up on people. So I don't think that it's that far off. Maybe it's a little bit more exaggerated than he would want. Or maybe he just doesn't see himself in that way. But I mean, it's not like this is the first time we've heard that.
Yeah. Yeah, it both Magic and Kareem slammed the show for historical inaccuracies. Magic said he would not watch the series because it never depicted the Showtime era accurately, to which my response would be, with all due respect, Mr. Johnson, how can you slam the show if you've never watched it?
Yeah.
But, okay, Kareem referred to the series as deliberately dishonest, which, and to your point, Jerry West, not happy. On April 19, 2022, he demanded a retraction from HBO within 2 weeks for the, quote, cruel and deliberately false depiction of him as a temperamental, foul-mouthed executive prone to angry outbursts and mood swings. I'm sorry. That was hilarious. Not him. The portrayal was great.
Well, the other funny thing about it is his response to it is very much what the Jerry West of the show would do.
with far less F-bombs, by the way.
Yeah, it's exactly what Jerry West in the show would do. I think that's what makes it even funnier. But I don't know. I get people wanting it to be like extremely accurate, and I get people feeling a way that it embellished on some things, but I don't think that it was that terrible. And I mean, you gotta look at the Magic stuff, and Magic was putting out his own docuseries at the same time, and he's telling you, well, I'm giving you the facts. Well, I mean, yeah, it's a docuseries produced by you, so it's gonna be the facts presented by Magic Johnson.
Sure.
So I mean, yes, it'll be probably more accurate than a television show, but it's still the truth that you want out there.
Mm-hmm. It's your narrative. It's not exactly. And HBO responded, quote, HBO has a long history of producing compelling content drawn from actual facts and events that are fictionalized in part for dramatic purposes. Winning Time is not a documentary and has not been presented as such. However, the series and its depictions are based on extensive factual research and reliable sourcing, and HBO stands resolutely behind our talented creators and cast who have brought a dramatization of this epic chapter in basketball history to the screen, end quote. And I like the way they put that, factual research and reliable sourcing. Phil, you're a writer. I've been a writer in my time. You need to source. It doesn't mean you have to name the person's name, but you got to be ready to deliver or produce the source, at least if pressed, or if you're put in a corner and you got to get your way out of it, right? To some degree. I mean, they talked to people. Maybe they didn't get 100%, because whoever they spoke to, they're going to get those versions. But at the same time, if Magic wanted to go along with this, I have a hard time believing they would have told him, we don't want your input,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's based off of the Jeff Pearlman book.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that they were using some of that for that. And, like everything, when you get somebody's accounts of things, it's not going to be entirely accurate. That's just what it is. And I think that's the same thing when you do an adaptation. When you did adaptation, you're going to change some things for entertainment value. That's why a biopic and a documentary are always going to be stark differences, because one wants to put out just the facts. The other wants to also be a compelling movie or television show.
Yeah, no, I get that. And look, I to be honest with you, I can see both sides, but I'm not going to have any heartburn over it because I actually really enjoyed this show. So yeah. I guess maybe if I didn't, I'd have a different take. But honestly, I don't have an issue with this show at all.
Yeah, I think if this was like a hacky show where they were
like a hit piece.
Yeah, I think if they were doing things that I felt were tacky and made on any of these people look really, really bad, then I would be more bothered by it. But I don't think any of this really bothered me. I think for the most part, all of these characters come off as three-dimensional characters. Nobody comes off as like this flat villain of the show or like this like terrible person. I think that they do a good job of giving us several different sides of a lot of the main characters. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the depictions. I enjoyed a lot of the acting. Very good acting from most of this cast. I thought the way that it was filmed was really cool. I think just like the nostalgia effect of that time period. Of course, I wasn't around for most of that time period. I didn't watch basketball during that time period because I was not here for it. But I just think a lot of that stuff, just revisiting it and seeing like the time capsule of that stuff through a TV show was cool.
The filter used on this show, that grainy sort of, the colors are washed out. Effing beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's one of the great things about the show is the cinematography is really, really good.
100% agree. I love the look of this show. And it hits you from the moment the credits open and you see the first scene, it hits you square in the face. But it's not like, it doesn't feel gimmicky to me at all. It just feels like we're going to give you we're taking the clock back. Like we're rewinding. It's funny, Phil, how like season 1, episode 1 ends with Magic. You can tell he's in the clinic, and we assume this is the day he was given the news that he's HIV positive, I assume. And then we never went back to that because this show was canceled before its time. I mean, I just wonder what was the original end of this show? Were we supposed to come back forward in time? Like, I guess we'll never know now, unfortunately.
Yeah, I believe the first episode, like you said, started with Magic getting the diagnosis, and then we get like all of the stuff with Magic starting his career. But I think the point of that is just to juxtapose like the extreme highs of starting his career and being like a kind of a bright-eyed guy from Lansing and coming to Hollywood with all these expectations, and then seeing that juxtaposed with where he ended up. I think it's a really smart narrative device. I don't think a lot of people would have got it, but I understood because they did that a few times with the show where they would fast forward to something that happened in the future, but they'd also use that kind of as a way to put that against what was happening in actual episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And God, there's so much to talk about here, man. I hate this thing got canceled the way it did. I wanted to see so much more. The cast of this show, Phil, is fantastic. I mean, I can't sit here and say this show is perfectly cast. I don't know if I necessarily feel it's perfectly cast, but like, I feel like it hits all the right notes, starting from the top down with Dr. Jerry Buss. John C. Reilly not only resembles him, John C. Reilly, I don't know if he will get enough credit as being the great actor that he is because he's done so much comedy through the years. This guy is effing great, man. Like, he is the linchpin of this show besides Magic, the character of Magic himself. But, like, I love him in this show, man. He's great.
Yeah, he's very, very good. Of course, he's known for doing mostly comedy, and yeah, he kind of needs to bring some of his comedy bits to this character. But he does a lot of really good serious acting in the show. I think the first few episodes where the show is carried a lot by him kind of having these Zach Morris moments where he's kind of breaking the fourth wall and telling you all these things that's going on and building the organization is a part of what makes the first season so good. And I don't know, this show wouldn't have worked without him. I know at one point Will Ferrell was up for the role. Seems like that ruined his friendship with showrunner Adam McKay. But all respect to Will Ferrell, I don't think this show is the same without John C. Reilly.
100% agree. Isn't it funny how he was up for it and Reilly gets it? Isn't that funny?
Yeah, I think it was so much. I think it was really that Will Ferrell wanted the role. And I think he felt the way that he didn't get it. But I think John knocked this out of the park, man. I really cannot see this show without him. I can't see anybody else in this role after 2 seasons. He did such a good job.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, he's the absolute best guy. And Will Ferrell may Will Ferrell may have done an amazing bang-up job, but God, he's in the moments when Riley had to have that smile on his face with the shirt open and the chest hair. I don't know. Picturing Ferrell doing that, would that have just been more? We've seen Will do that, and it was goofball slapstick, which is fine, but that's not what this is.
No, I think that John nails all of the aspects of this character. He brings the charm when he needs to. He's very likable when he needs to be. He's very sleazy in some ways when he needs to be. He's great. I think that he gets all of the aspects of his character right.
Yeah, dude, I 100% agree. 100% agree. He's fantastic. Quincy Isaiah as Magic Johnson. This dude came from out of nowhere. I didn't recognize him. I looked up his credits, and he's not done that much at all. There's like 3 credits, maybe 4 credits. This is his break. Dude doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, man. This is his breakout role, I assume. He's fantastic. Did you know him at all going into this?
No, complete newcomer. I think this show is going to be the thing that kind of puts him on the map and gets him some more roles, because he was tremendous here. I think from the very first episode where we see him as Magic, and we see that he has the smile and everything.
Oh,
he has like the same like kind of likability as Magic, and kind of like John C. Reilly when he gets the moments where he's breaking the fourth wall and talking directly to the audience. He's just so likable, man. Like, he's so perfect in a role. I think all of the times where he is playing basketball and he's doing all of the stuff like showing you why Magic is Magic, putting on the show, doing all the no-look passes, and kind of turning around and winking in the camera, it's perfect. It's what you would want Magic to be in a television show.
Oh my God, I can't get over how good he is, dude. Listen, I don't know. I would love to have a serious behind the scenes, and maybe it will happen. I don't know if it will now or not. Who knows? But you know, I would suspect the moment that dude smiled, they said, "That's it. It's done. You're hired." Because, dude, that smile he looks just like him, doesn't he? From that era. My God,
he does. He has the smile. He has like the down to earth thing that Magic had down pack before Magic became Magic. That, you know, he seems just like this kid from rural Michigan that made it to Hollywood, and he's just kind of like, yeah, I'm here. And what made Magic as a star is not just how good he was at basketball, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, but it's also the guy. I think he's a guy that you want to like. This guy, you want to root for him because he just has this way about him. And I think Quincy nails that. I think he nails that from the very first episode.
He's great. Some of the things that are I was going to say infamous, maybe infamous as well, but famous things about Magic is his smile. I mean, it's, you know, from the moment that he got to the NBA, the guy was just, I mean, again, dude, he's Jerry Buss's guy. I mean, you can just tell, and they make it very clear, like, you're a star. Like, I see it from a distance. You are absolutely a star. I don't care what the scouts say. You're a star. You're my guy. I can't do this without you. We're going to do this together. Like, I mean, it's great. I mean, you just see the guy, and he just doesn't, I don't know, like Bird, complete opposite. We'll get to him.
Yeah.
Poker face, determined, gritty, raw, and Magic's just having the time of his life, man. That's just such a dynamic, dude. I love it so much.
Yeah, I really love Magic as a character in this show as well.
Yeah.
Because the same way we talked about Wes, like, he's complex. He's arrogant and he's brash, but he's also, like, let's say, he's likable. He's you can buy into this version of Magic as a kid. Because he did come into the league very young. And you can buy into this kid that just came into Hollywood that knows he's good, that got drafted high, that got a massive contract pretty early in his career, that had success early in his career, won a championship his first season. And I just love going through all of those highs with him, just seeing just how he would respond to making it to Hollywood and having access to all of these women and money, and just how arrogant he was with it. I love like just how he would come back after his first championship and how that would change him, how losing changed him. His dynamic with Cookie. I thought all that stuff was really good.
It's great. I mean, the stuff with Cookie is fantastic. You can tell he really loves her, but she's fantastic as well because she's, I was going to say not falling for it, but she knows, like she can see from a distance, like the allure. I got the JC song in my head now, but the allure of fame and women and popularity is just too much. Like Magic, well, look, kids, relax. I'm not talking about the man. We're talking about the show here, okay? Everybody take it easy. But Magic just has a really hard time being able to pull himself out of those situations where, I don't know, it's like maybe ego stroking is the wrong way to put it, but like he wants to be famous. Like he wants to be known and recognized. And at the end of the day, he wants to be recognized and acknowledged for being a great player, of course, but a lot of it is the fame. But like, to her point, you know, I can't trust this. You know, you're off doing that. You're going to forget me. And I think him pursuing her, Phil, like it's hot and heavy, then it's cold, then it's hot and heavy, then it's cold. But it feels like a real guy doing all he can to convince this woman that he loves her and she's not falling for it. I actually really enjoyed that between those two.
Yeah, it feels like a real relationship. It feels like a real relationship with a guy that may have good intentions with Cookie, but at the same time, he's going from a teenager to a guy that has had the world laid out at his feet, like literally. Like he's going to Hollywood. He has access to all of this, anything he could ever want. We see that in the first few episodes when he's in Hollywood, like when he meets that pimp and like all this other stuff, like so he has access to anything he wants. He has, he has more money than he knows what to do with at that time. He's one of the most famous basketball players in Los Angeles, not just in any city. This is not like he's in Milwaukee playing basketball and he's the most famous player in Milwaukee. No, you're the most famous player in LA, in Hollywood. And that would change anybody, man. And I think that, yeah, it would have been hard for any woman to want to deal with a guy that's getting sucked up into that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah. It'd be hard for any young, good looking, in great shape, can ball. Dude, the world's at your feet, man.
Yeah. And he took to it like a fish in water. And I think she probably was looking around like, no, this is too much. And you're not going to be faithful and all these other things. And I think they do a good job of, yes, in some ways making him look like a dog in some situations, but at the same time, you realize, no, this guy is young. This guy is, you don't want to justify everything he does, but at sometimes it's understandable because of the age that he was when he really got famous.
I mean, it's like asking the Beatles at 19, 20 years of age not to have sex during their first tour. Are you kidding? Like, what?
Yeah, he's a kid. He doesn't know what to do with all this stuff. Everybody wants a piece of him, and he's not going to say no.
Yeah, dude, no doubt. Tamira Tomakili as Cookie. Got to mention her name there. I suspect this is her breakout role as well, but I cannot swear to it. But she's fantastic. Like she's the yin to his yang, dude. 100%. Like I was very happy with her performance. I thought it was great. I thought that everything she needed to do, that she did it, and she did it very well. Like, I don't know how anybody could be upset with anything that she did here. I thought she was awesome.
Yeah, I thought they had very good chemistry. I think from the very first episode, and we meet Magic, they do a great job of building his social circle outside of him just being a basketball player. His family life with his mom and dad, I think they did a good job with that. And so I think that it makes it much bigger of a shift when he does go to LA and we see like what he's doing in LA in comparison to who he was when we were introduced to him as this small town guy with a family life.
Yeah, I love that. And Detroit, Michigan, of course, because he and Bird played against each other. It was Indiana Hoosiers, and he went to...
It's Michigan, but I keep thinking Michigan's. Well, of course, when you think Michigan, you think Bad Boys, but I don't think he went to that Michigan.
He went to Michigan State.
That's what it was. He was a Spartan.
Yeah, yep. There you go. Yep. Dude, I'm like you. I was thinking it was Michigan as well.
Yeah, it just kept popping in my head, and I was like, "That's wrong. That's not where he went. He went to Michigan, but yeah, he's a Michigan State Spartan. That's what it was."
Well, we've talked about Jerry West. Jason Clark, kids, in case you don't know. Hey, kids, Tom Clark here, and did you know the very podcast you're listening to right now is available on boinkstudios.com. B-O-I-N-K, Boink Studios is the home of Tom Clark's Main Event, Tom Clark's 6M podcast, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Visit the site today for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Check out the site and bookmark today, boinkstudios.com. Go look up this guy because his acting career started in 95. This dude has been in everything, okay? He's got TV credits dating back to 95. He's got movie credits that go back to 97. This guy was in Twilight. He was in just some of the big names here. He was in, let's see, he was in Zero Dark 30, The Great Gatsby, White House Down. He was in Terminator Genesis. He was in Serenity. He was in Pet Sematary. He was in Oppenheimer. This guy's been acting for a long time. I'm sure I've seen him, but it didn't jump out at me. I can't stop gushing. This guy should have won Best Supporting Actor. And I don't think this show was nominated for any Emmys. I mean, there was...
That's crazy.
I know, isn't it? There was, yeah. Let's see. Primetime Creative Arts Emmy Awards. What exactly? Yeah. And nominated, but not won.
I hope they get nominated this time around. The first season was so good. I don't understand how it did get nominated.
I don't get it either. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. But dude, Jason Clark with an E, kids. Jason Clark as Jerry West. I mean, it's not the same show without him, dude. That temper is effing hilarious. The fact that what was the story? He went to six finals and didn't win, and then finally won. And like, you see him on the court celebrating, and they're all celebrating the win, and he's barely smiling. He can't enjoy it. The guy was... Yeah. He didn't want to coach, but he took the job and he hated it. Like the character's expectations of what he should have done. And like, dude, he doesn't really love the game all that much. Like he's very good at it and he can see it from a mile away, but he hates doing it. Cause like, it's one of those things Phil, I guess it's like, I love basketball, but basketball doesn't love me back, that kind of thing. But the actor himself does a top-notch job here.
Yeah, I think that he's such a great character. I get the feeling that it's one of those things where he does love basketball, I think, but at the same time, it's like winning has consumed him because the questions about who he is as a person and everything when he loses, it just changed everything. It's just not just a game anymore. I have to win. We have to be good enough to win. And I think that he's so integral to the Lakers organization as an executive and as a decision maker. And a good part of his decision making is based off of everything he experienced as a player, as a Laker. And it drives him. And I think that makes him such a compelling character. It's not just like, I want to win. He's got this great backstory of why like winning means so much to him. I really enjoy him in the show. Again, I no disrespect to the real Jerry West, but I really enjoy him in the show. I think his tantrums at several parts in the show are very funny. I think that he has moments where you can understand him in every way. I think he comes off really, really well in first season when they have the first game against Boston, and you can just see how much he hates Boston.
He hates Boston.
Hates Boston. You can see him in the limo just like frothing. He cannot even sit in there with everybody in there watching the game in person. He needs to watch it in privacy. And when he wins, he's up. When he wins, and the limo guy lets down the window, and he's sitting there with the big middle finger up. Hilarious.
So good. So good. The Celtics are perfect villains here too. Like, I don't know how you watch this show unless you're Boston born and raised, how you would pull for the Celtics in the fantasy that is this show, because they're depicted as villains, and it works very well, actually.
Well, yeah, but see, this is the great thing about the show as well. They are the big villains of the show, but I think they did such a good job of depicting like the main guys from the Boston Celtics. Like, I think the villain origin story we get this season for Larry Bird is very, very good, and it not just makes Larry Bird a stark difference from Magic, but it also makes you understand why he is who he is and why winning means something to him. It's just so good. I think one of the other great things about this show, Michael Chiklis, man. The fact that people don't talk enough about how great he is in this show. Michael Chiklis is amazing in the show, man.
He is so good, dude. He's so good. It's insane how good he is. Like, he's the right height. He's the right build. I mean, I don't really care how much he does or doesn't look like somebody, but like, he's great. I mean, he's perfect in the role too, man.
Phenomenal. Chomping on the cigars and like giving like that little snicker, like giving that little smug smile. You want to dislike this guy because you're seeing it from Dr. Buss's point of view. It's like, yeah, this guy, man, he's so smug, and they'll have moments where he's right, and it's like, this guy, man. And so he's so great, man. I think in all of the scenes with Dr. Buss, they have good chemistry together. He has good chemistry in the moments with Larry Bird. I think when you talk about both Dr. Buss and Arbuck, the stuff they did this season with them was really, really good. I think it's the episode before the season finale, well, series finale now, where they're doing the back and forth between both locker rooms, and they're both doing those speeches in the locker room. Really, really good scene. Both of those guys did some great acting. And again, you get such a good side by side of both teams' dynamics, and just like building this rivalry. Man, it sucks we're not getting another season because they did so much good stuff in the last 3 episodes that really got us sucked into this rivalry.
Yeah, because dude, these two teams had a rivalry for the better part of 10 years? Well, this team had a rivalry before Magic and Bird. We should remind people of that. Like, this rivalry's been going on for decades, man. Really, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean that's where we get the stuff with Jerry West, of course. But by the time we get to Showtime Lakers, the Showtime Lakers and Larry Bird Celtics, they're not just one of the greatest rivalries in sports. It changed the face of basketball. It made basketball into a household thing. NBA, before that, we get an inkling in the first season of how unsuccessful the NBA is and how much of a risk at that time it was to go in as an NBA owner, because there wasn't the money in basketball that there is now. There weren't the TV rights deals. There weren't any of the huge endorsements and anything. All of that changed after the Lakers and Celtics rivalry, because that made the NBA must-see television.
Oh, dude, 100%. I mean, and we talked about this in the Bulls episode too, man, that Michael really had to build something from nothing. Whereas, guys who get drafted to either Boston or LA, they're stepping into storied rivalries and storied franchises with multiple rings, which doesn't discount their efforts, Phil, but I don't know. I don't want to say that Bird wasn't an all-time 50 all-time greatest players because he absolutely is. Mm-hmm. But stepping into a franchise that has a history of winning is not the same as stepping into a franchise where you have to go from the ground up. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you're stepping into an organization that had already won championships. You're stepping into a legacy as a Boston Celtic. There was no legacy for the Chicago Bulls. I mean, to a lesser degree, there's a legacy for the Lakers. But the Showtime Lakers really built something and made the Lakers into one of the most successful sports organizations, not just in basketball, but in all of sports. Like, one of the most lucrative organizations in all of sports.
God, yeah, no kidding. Yeah, he's freaking great here. We also have to mention some of the other heavy hitters. Adrian Brody, just stop the show right now and just turn it off, because Adrian Brody should absolutely have been nominated for something just as much as Riley should have, just as much. Listen, everybody we've talked about so far, in my opinion, with a few exceptions, Adrian Brody looks like Pat Riley. He sounds like Pat Riley. He's effing great. He is perfectly cast as Pat Riley. I cannot gush enough about how great he is. And I love, and I mean, there's good actors here, Phil, but Adrian Brody is head and shoulders at any point in time, no matter what project he's in, he's head and shoulders above other actors. And he proved here how versatile he is. I loved him here, dude. He's such a convincing Pat Riley. It's nuts.
I love his story. I love his character arc from the first season all the way up to the second season. It's so good watching him go from this guy that is trying to figure out who he is after being a player and struggling with stuff like not wanting to end up like his dad, wanting to find like what is his future with the sport. And then you get like his struggles with trying to be a commentator. You get all of that into him being an assistant coach. And I mean, his transformation by the end of last season is really incredible. It's like if you look at him from the beginning of the show to the last episode of the series, it's night and day. And I think one of the better episodes is the one where he walks into that bathroom and he takes the water and he flips his hair back, and that's the first time we see him as the Pat Riley we know. So cool.
So cool. Yeah, it absolutely fits him. It fits him. Like he just. You're right. He may have the most satisfying character arc, which is not easy, Phil, on a show with superstar basketball players being dramatized. But what was the old Chris Rock joke that he should be one? I don't know why this just suddenly jumped in my head, but one of Chris Rock's bits about Pat Riley was that he should be one of the leaders for African Americans because he led more black people to the promised land than anybody else, and he held him in the same regard as Dr. King, which it got a lot of laughs. But Pat Riley is, dude, he's an all-time legend.
Yes, I thought it was really good here. This put over how good he was as a mind for basketball. But I think one of the great things about the first season that continues as a steady overarching theme into the second season is why all of these characters wanted to win, and not just the Lakers characters, but the Celtics characters. Why winning meant so much to them, and why they were so motivated. And I think all of his real life stuff with his personal life and everything that we get from the first season, it does a lot to build Pat Riley into the guy that would lead that team.
Yeah, and before I get any nasty letters, I know he didn't win a title with the Knicks. So,
I mean, it's the Knicks.
It's the Knicks. I mean, come on. I didn't think I had to say that, but before I get any nasty hate,
you couldn't even win with Phil Jackson and the Knicks, man. It's that organization, man.
I'm saying
I'm here for all of the Knicks hate. Sorry, as a Chicago Bulls fan, I'm here for all of the Knicks hate.
I'm saying, bring in the heat. Yeah, he's great. Also, Jason Segel is Paul Westhead. Jason Segel is he was good on How I Met Your Mother, but you didn't know how talented he was till the show ended and he started doing other things. But like Jason Segel is very, very good. And dude, you could argue that Westhead's character development is not bad either. Seeing him going from, timid and soft spoken and shy to being very confident in his role, confident in his ability, and getting his plan of attack on the court. I thought it was very intriguing. I was here for it. I love the character. I think it worked great here, man. He's very good.
Yeah, I thought Segel was great in this role. I think he's very good at playing Westhead as a guy that ended up out of his depth. And as a guy that, was out of his depth and led this team to a championship, then it became, no, I'm not out of my depth anymore. I belong here. And like Hollywood and the lights of this, it transformed him as well, became an egomaniac into the second season. And it wasn't so much I'm out of my depth anymore. It's like, show me some respect because I won a championship. And it doesn't matter that he still has insecurities and he's just like, all right, well, I don't have to prove anything anymore. I won a championship. Yeah, but did you?
The system, Phil. You're going to argue with the system?
Did you? And I think they do so many great things with him in the second season. I think he shines the most in the second season because he comes in and he's got the slick back hair now. He's just like, he's not going to take any mess. You're going to respect me. And he just goes overboard. I think one of the best episodes of the second season is after he has the fight with Magic, which the fight with Magic is so well done. He walks him into that janitor's closet and he like tries to get a hold of him, and it just shows that you're still a guy out of your depth. You're still a guy that came from high school as a high school teacher that is trying to exert dominance over all of these like larger than life guys. And you're out of your depth. And so after he has this conversation with Magic and Magic makes it known, I want to be traded because I don't want to play for this guy. Goes straight into Jerry Buss's office, which that scene is very good as well. When he goes into his office, he's like, done playing for this guy. And that's not how he said it, but done playing for him. Very good. But after all of this, and Westhead is just like, still gung ho, like, this is gonna work out. Like, they're probably just gonna have me in for a meeting. They probably talk to Magic, and he's sitting there having I think it's dinner with his wife and his kid, and his kid's just like, Dad, they're gonna fire you.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of like the last one to know, and everybody else in the world can see it coming. All the newspapers, all the people that he works with, everybody else is just like, no, this is how this goes. They're gonna choose you, and they're gonna choose Magic. And I think from like even like his chemistry with Adrian Brody was also very good. His relationship with Pat, and how Pat was trying his best to give him advice and trying to tell him like, this isn't gonna end well for you if you go this direction. And it definitely did not end well.
Did not end well. And you're 100% right. Like everybody knew it but him, because his point of view was, hey, I brought a title here. Like, what's the problem? Yeah,
I mean, I think the stuff with him and Jack in the first season was very good as well. But again, I think there's that episode in this season where they played Jack, and I believe Jack was coaching the Pacers.
I think you're right, yeah.
I think he's coaching the Pacers at that time. I know Jack, at one point in his career, coaches the Sacramento Kings as well. But I think he's coaching the Pacers. And you can see how much the players respect Jack, but they don't respect Westhead in the same way. And it's just such a good storytelling device, because it doesn't matter what you've done after Jack was gone. It doesn't matter that you were the guy that won that ring. They still don't look at you in that way.
No, they really, really don't. Like, you're right. That episode, it's very obvious. It's very obvious. To put some context on this, let's see. Paul Westhead's NBA record is 183 and 224, which is just a shade under 500. It's .45. And then he was also head coach in the WNBA where he was 41-27. His college coaching career for men was 285 and 223. And then his women's coaching career in college was 66 and 92. And on the flip side of that, Jack McKinney, played here by Tracy Letts. His career, NBA career, was 136 and 215, which put him at 39%. And his college coaching career, however, was 163 and 83, which was, 66%, which is good, which is really good. So like, yeah, it's the era, it's the time, it's the teams, it's the ideology behind it. But like, something has to be said for McKinney bringing that style to the team. And man, you're right, dude. The way those players respected him in this show was great. And I can't say that I knew anything about the actual person or had heard much about him at the time. But I mean, McKinney did. He was assistant with Milwaukee, assistant with Portland before the Lakers got him. He went on to the Pacers and the Kansas City Kings in 1984. He was NBA Coach of the Year in 81 while he was with the Pacers.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I said Sacramento. It was still Kansas at the time.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's good here, man, and he feels like a real person. He doesn't feel like an actor at all. He just feels like a dude that, and the incident with the bicycle is heinous, and his recovery, and he's hazy and he's forgetting things, but they ultimately have to replace him. It's all heart-wrenching because the way it's portrayed here was that he had gave Westhead his break, and Westhead had a lot of love for him and respect for him. But at the same time, he was kind of talking down to him quite a bit during this show too.
Well, I think that was the other thing that builds Westhead into such an interesting character as well, is that you can tell that when Jack basically tells him when he could see that his power is slipping away, like, no, I didn't bring you in because I felt like you can replace me. I brought you in because of the opposite, because I felt like they would never replace me with you. You are a patsy. You are a stand-in. You're not fit to lead this team. And again, all of this stuff makes it so much more interesting, and it makes it for such a good narrative that he is the guy that leads them to a championship. Because again, he's out of his depth, and everybody's saying it. The guy that brought you in as the assistant coach is essentially telling you in that moment, you're out of your depth. But he proved everybody wrong. But yeah, Jack is such a great character in the first season as well. I was so excited when he came back for the episode in the second season, and we get all the rumblings that he is Coach of the Year, and we can still see those signs of insecurity with Westhead because of that. Yeah, I think that dynamic with him and Jack is so good. When they have that have that conversation that you're talking about, where Jack is putting him down because Jack is trying to cling to his power and cling to his spot as head coach. It's so good. But I think they did such a good job with the stuff with Jack in general, because like you said, the accident is so like gut-wrenching. Yeah. But then all of the stuff like with him, once he starts having like the memory loss and everything, it's scary, man. Like that the episode where he gets lost in the hallway and he's trying to figure out where he's going, he just like completely gets lost. Like the way they shoot it, the way it's like disorienting, it's very like unsettling.
It is. Yeah, God, very much so. You feel really bad for the guy when it happens too.
It's very unsettling, and you very much get the idea like, yeah, this guy is not fit to be a coach. He's not fit. He needs to be at home. Yeah. And it was sad because he is the unsung hero in a lot of ways for the Showtime Lakers. He did help to put together the offense that they're best known for. But I think that's also part of the second season of Westhead trying to steer away from the fast pace and what made them work, and go, yeah, we're going to do things my way. Because he had to prove that it wasn't Jack, it was me that got us there. And that that hubris was his undoing.
Oh my God, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, and it's again, kids. There's so many talented people here. You spoke earlier about breaking the fourth wall. Did you have a problem with any of that? It seemed like they did a lot of it in the first season. In the season 2, kind of felt they backed off to some degree. Were you okay with all that?
I thought it was really good when they were doing it with Dr. Bus because John C. Reilly did it very well. I also think that there were a few episodes where, from Magic's point of view, he did it really well. Like some of the episodes in Lansing where we're getting it from his point of view and he's breaking the fourth wall, I really enjoy it. Again, like the stuff of him going and doing basically like, nah, this is the Magic show and I am the star. All that stuff is cool. Like the stuff in the second season where everything is from his point of view, and I think it's the episode where he gets the injury, he has a knee injury, and you can't see anybody on the court but him. The entire court is black, and it's just him and his point of view. And the second he gets hurt, all the lights cut back on, and you can see everybody else. Really, really cool. And there's another episode where he's doing things from first person. Oh, when he's playing Cookie's boyfriend on the court, and he's trash talking this poor guy and just like annihilating him in basketball. It's so good. He is a complete and utter menace.
He is, and he can flip the switch too, man. It's good.
Yeah, it's so good. I know. I think all of that stuff is used very well when they do it, and I think it is also a big part of Showtime and the Lakers, and a part of why I, as a fan, was never big Lakers fans, because they're Hollywood. Like, I'm from Chicago. I'm from kind of like what's considered a blue collar town, and that's the same way you could probably see it as a Celtics fan. Like, this is a blue collar town. Those guys over there, no, they're Hollywood. They're this is a show. This is a presentation, and I think that they put that over with the Lakers stuff with both Dr. Bus and Magic. That all of this stuff is a presentation, man. Like you're here for the Jerry Buss show, or you're here for the Magic show.
Yeah, and dude, well said. Presentation, because there's that spot in the first season when they go to that, he takes Magic to that club, and the guy's talking about it's Showtime. That's really good, though.
It is, and I think that helps to put over the appeal of the Showtime Lakers and Magic and Jerry Buss, but also puts over why you might not like them. Like, I mean, a good way to look at it right now is what's going on with Colorado and Coach Primetime, and the showmanship of Primetime has always been, the appeal of him. But in some ways, you can see why this is a little obnoxious. Like, if you're playing against him, you might not like this stuff. Might be a little bit ostentatious. But at the same time, that this is the big appeal of them. This is what made a lot of people like them. And I think for the Lakers, it's the same thing. Cam Newton's another good example of that, if you want another sports analogy, that like the showmanship of Cam Newton is what a lot of people like about him. But some people also may find that obnoxious.
That's fair. That's fair, man. When he was down here with Carolina, and I'm telling you, he it's the old story, Phil, as long as you're winning.
Yes.
As long as you're winning, like Rodman's stuff, hey, as long as you're getting the rebounds, but the games where you're not getting it done, here come your haters.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, unfortunately, I guess it depends on how you look at it. But yeah, no, I get it. We also have to shout out here, Gabby Hoffman as Claire Rothman, who is such an important character in the first season, who's trying to keep Bus centered and trying to be the realist. She's really good here. We also have to talk about Hadley Robinson as Jeannie Buss. She's fantastic. I was just listening to a podcast the other day, and Jay Moore has married Jeannie Buss. It's fairly new. I think, yeah. It's just small world where we're going to do this show, and then I'm listening to another. I was listening to the Smartless podcast, and he was a guest. I think it was Smartless. Maybe it was Spade and Carby's show. I can't remember now. But he had mentioned it. But yeah, both these, man, there's something to be said here, Phil, for the female cast of this show. They are solid. They're strong. They can hold their weight with the men any day of the week on this show.
Yeah, I agree. I think in the first season, both Jeannie and Rothman were good characters, but also Sally Field's character as Dr. Buss's mother was also very good.
So good.
Yeah, but I think Jeannie has such a great character arc as well. And I mean, as you just mentioned that she's married, like, remember she had that very like bizarre relationship with Phil Jackson. Like how do you two get together? Like,
It's right.
What are you guys doing together? They're just such an odd fit, but they were together for a long time. I'm actually surprised they did not stay together because they were together for that long.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think Jeannie is also such a big part of the show, and her character arc and how it runs parallel to Dr. Bus is such an interesting dynamic. I think her and John have good chemistry as well. You can tell how much she loves her dad and how much he loves her. But even when you introduce like his sons in the second season and how you can see he is very much like old school, you could tell that he in some ways is very chauvinistic. And it's like, yeah, I'm grooming my sons to have the spot. And she's the one that is the most qualified. She's the one that wants to do everything he's doing, but he's just looking right over her. And he's looking like at my sons like, no, they're the ones. They're going to take over the company.
Mm. Yeah, dude, that was, and you want to hate the sons, but when you have those, and I think it was in season 2, when you have those moments with the sons, you're like, these aren't bad kids. They're just, their dad's putting them in a tough situation. Like, it's hard to really dislike any of his kids, honestly.
Yeah, no, they're just in a bad spot. Dr. Bus is putting them in a spot that they just don't belong. They're not fit to do what he does. They're not driven the way he is. But again, that's why this overarching storyline of, what drove Dr. Bus to want to be successful, and what drove Jeannie to want to be successful as well is, being seen in the same light by her dad and being able to take on that mantle. I really hate that we didn't get more seasons to see where she would have gone as a character, because I think like her character arc was just starting to get better by the end of season 2. And you could tell there was so much more they could have done with her. And they had already done very interesting stuff with her in the first 2 seasons. You could tell that she was very much for him the glue in a lot of ways. She was the reliable one. But I would have really liked to see her grow into that role and to see him finally have this moment of clarity. Like, no, she's the one. She's the one that's going to lead this organization.
Yeah, well said. And we had Thomas Mann and McCabe Sly as Johnny and Jimmy Buss, respectively. So there you go.
Tom Clark 6M Podcast is sponsored in part by Radius Law Group. Every day, Radius helps individuals, families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations throughout North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania resolve their legal issues by providing effective legal counsel in the areas of estate planning, as well as elder law and Medicaid. Radius Law holds the radical belief that working with a lawyer can indeed be enjoyable. So give them a call at 1-800-519-5667 for more information and tell them that Tom Clark 6M Podcast sent you.
We also have to talk about, because his name just popped up in front of me, because we got to give him a shout out, the man who played Irvin Johnson Sr., Rob Morgan, known to Marvel fans as Turk. He's great. He's great. I expected to see him snitching on somebody to save his own skin, because that's what he does in the Marvel Netflix universe. But man, he's really good, dude. I had to shout him out here. I love him.
How about I did not realize this was Turk all this time?
I didn't either.
I did not realize that this was Turk until you just said that, but that's really good. But I thought he was great. I thought the casting for Magic's family was really good. I think his mother was also really good. And I think
it's the hair that throws you. It's the hair that throws you.
It
right?
is. I think it is. But I think the dynamic between Irvin Sr. and Magic's mom is so good. You can see why. For as big as Magic was, you can see how they helped to ground him. I think the stuff in the second season where he has his first kid, and they're very much showing him like, nah, son, you have to do the right thing. it's such a good episode because it shows like how important his family is to him and how important family life is to him, even though he's like this massive star, like this globally recognized guy. I think all of that stuff was very necessary to this show from the very first episode on.
Yeah, he's great. I discovered it actually when doing prep for the show, but yeah, I'm like, oh my God, that is him. Because once you know it, you see it. But like it was staring you right in the face, man. That's pretty good. Yeah, it's the cast. Oh my God, the cast is so huge. Let's talk about the team. What's your take on, and you can tell this is not, I don't know, this is even a regulation size NBA court that they're doing this on, because the way it's shot, it feels very small. It feels, Hollywood trickery, Phil, can do anything, especially with CG, where you can put people in the stands that aren't there and, stretch the image or shorten it or whatever that looks like. But what do you think about the gameplay itself during these 2 seasons here?
I really like how they filmed the basketball scenes. I like how close it is, how intimate it is, especially like with stuff with Magic and how Magic plays. Like the way the camera follows the ball through all of this fast-paced offense.
Mm-hmm.
I really like it. I really like that. A lot of the, like you said, it feels small and it makes it feel like everything that's happening on the court is intimate. And I think it draws you into all of the players. It makes you care about everything they do. And I think the point of the show is to make you care about all these characters in general. But I think on the court, it does a great job of putting you on the court with these guys.
Mm. Oh, yeah, you're right. It does.
Yeah, and so I like the way they filmed basketball a lot. And just the juxtaposition of how they film the basketball scenes for the Lakers and how they film it for the Celtics. Like watching Magic play and watching Bird play couldn't be any different. But it's still such a visceral experience watching Bird just like annihilate guys. Like that scene where he hits that shot in that's Magic. When he hits the shot in Magic's face to win that game, it couldn't have felt any deflating. It was like, oh wow, he really did that.
So good. Sean Patrick Small as Larry Bird. He looks like him. He sounds like him. He's an utter D-bag, as we've always heard that Bird truly was on the court. Like, dude, he's great. He looks like an assassin, man. He's got that poker face. Like, holy Lord.
He's great. I think he really came into the role in the second season.
Yeah.
We see him a little bit in the first season when he shows up and he's got the can of beer and he's like chewing tobacco. But I think in the second season, it's mostly because we get that standalone episode that focuses so much on him. I think the stuff they do with that, like his relationship with his dad and like where he grew up, and you can see how much that molded him into who he was. We even get like the scenes with him playing basketball with the guys outside of work, and you can see how he developed into being such a notorious trash talker of playing with all black players, and he's just like annihilating these guys and talking as much trash to them as they talk. I think the stuff with him going to Indiana and the coach is trying to get him, and he just won't come. And he finally comes to that practice and just like annihilates the whole team by himself. And he's talking trash the whole time, keeping count of every shot he hits. He comes off as a jerk. He comes off as cold. He comes off as a guy that is the antithesis to Magic in every single way. But by the end of the series, you kind of feel like, no, he deserves this as much as Magic does because of everything he went through. Like, yeah, he deserves this. He deserves this win. He deserves a championship. We also get that great scene where we see his mom for the first time, and we see how down to earth his mom is. I thought that was a great scene. We get the first tease of the Detroit Pistons in the show, which again really sucks. We don't get a second season. We don't get a third season because his mom drops that line of, "No, you're not my favorite player. Bill Laimbeer is." And of course, that's a reference to the fact that everybody hated Bill Laimbeer. Celtics hated him. Lakers hated him. Bulls hated him. Everybody hated Bill Laimbeer. And so, of course, that is like supposed to be like this line that introduces you into probably the secondary villain for the show in the Detroit Pistons coming up in seasons down the line that we're not going to get.
The more we talk about this, the more I want to see season 3. This sucks. Kids, in terms of rotation, you'll have to go back in the archives and see if we've released this yet, because I can't tell you if we have or haven't. Depends on when you listen to this. But we recently did Heels, which only had 2 seasons, and that the showrunners are currently shopping that show around. I believe they may be in talks with the network, unconfirmed at this point. So we'll probably get that show's return. But dude, that's not happening here, right? Because this is an HBO original, and no one can technically, I guess, take it and shop it around. That sucks, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I really want a 3rd season. They set up so many great things in season 2 that we're not going to get a payoff for. I mean, the end of the show. You can't end a Lakers show with them losing to Celtics, man. Like, this is essentially like ending Star Wars after Empire Strikes Back. The bad guys won. Like, you can't end this show that way.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, Hans and Carbonite. Luke's, lost his hand. You can't end it this way. Yeah. Yeah. Jesus. Crazy. We have to also mention, if we haven't talked about him yet, Solomon Hughes is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. This guy looks like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar come to life. I think he is as good in this role, honestly, as Quincy Isaiah is as Magic. And for different reasons, because there are moments when it kind of feels like, is he reading a cue card? But dude, his delivery is wooden, because that's how Kareem sounded. He's embodying the character Phil. I think he's great here.
He's tremendous, man. I think all of his scenes with Quincy are great. They have such a good good rapport together. You definitely get this idea of how different Magic and Kareem were. And you're right, he has just like this monotone, like stoic presence for the entire show. I think it's like the first season where he's just like, yeah, get out of here, Houdini. He just said it in such a flat and cold, deadpan way. It's great. But when he's fired up in episodes, he's great. I think it's season 1 where they have the entire episode centered around him, and it's centered around just like his faith and like his like the tension with like racial issues at the time, and it does such a good job of making you care about Kareem as a person, and making you care for all these things that he stands for. They used the Gil Scott Heron record for that episode as well. I believe that's the title of that episode as well, Making of the Man. Really, really good episode. And I mean, just all the stuff they use, like the jazz and stuff they use every time they talk about Kareem and like his motivations. That's another thing about the show, like the music and just how they change the music for certain atmospheres. Like Kareem, for sure, you get like a lot of jazz, but at the same time, when you get Magic, it's more upbeat, up-tempo music. When you get stuff with Dr. Bus, it's music that centers around him. Yeah, I just really love this show. Really sad that it's not coming back. But yeah, I don't remember seeing this guy in a lot of things, but he's very good in the show as Kareem.
Yeah, I can't say enough about him. Solomon Hughes, let's see, he is American educator, athlete, and actor, and he's known quite a bit for this. And honestly, I mean, that's the only credit I see on his resume here.
Wow, so he's a newcomer then. I mean,
he played for the Harlem Globetrotters for 13 games and tried out for the NBA in 2003.
Wow. But I mean, that fits a lot too, that you would get a Globetrotter on this show. That's kind of cool. Didn't know that, but yeah, that says a lot about both Solomon and Quincy, that they're both newcomers and they did such a good job on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought they were both great. I mean, at the same time, you have Norm Nixon's son, and I guess like he's kind of a newcomer to acting as well. But I thought he was really great as well.
He is not such a newcomer. When I tell you this, yeah. He was Miles Dyson's son in T2 Judgment Day.
Was he? Did not know that.
I know. I had no idea. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. He was in The Bodyguard in 92. Yeah, he's done some stuff. His back in 1990, and then TV roles starting in 91. Yeah,
No, he's not a newcomer at all.
no, he's been around for a while. Yeah.
Yeah,
But he's still fairly young too. He's only 40. So.
Yeah, I guess when I think about it too, I guess what I'm seeing and seeing him in the show, if I have seen him in other things, I never put two and two together. He was Norm Nixon's son.
Me neither.
Yeah, he's great here as his dad. His tension / friendship with Magic in both seasons is really good.
Yeah, I mean we've reached that point now in pop culture where we've got younger guys playing their dads and pulling it off and making it look great. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. Ice Cube and what's his son's name? Ice Cube's name?
O'Shea Jr.
That's it. Yeah. Excellent job.
Big wrestling fan.
That's right.
Big WWE fan.
Well, we won't hold that against him.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, because they brought so many other celebrities on, I was looking forward to seeing O'Shea Jr. play his dad on an episode. Because we got Jack Nicholson, we got Mike Epps playing. Who did Mike Epps play?
Richard Pryor.
He played Richard Pryor, and I like all of those cameos. I think that was another great thing about the show because it exists in Hollywood. You had a chance to bring in other celebrities and have these kind of cameos, and I think it would have made sense at some point to see like Ice Cube at a game.
That would have been wonderful. I would have been here for that. The guy that played Jack Nicholson was Max E. Williams, who was a Canadian film and TV actor. Orlando Jones, I love Orlando Jones as Elgin Baylor.
Yes.
He was in and out. James Leisure as Julius Irving, Dr. J. Yeah, there was quite a few here. Wood Harris as Spencer Haywood.
Haywood was great in the first season.
Yeah.
I kind of miss Wood in the second season, but his part in the show was over, but he was so great in the first season.
He was, yeah. There's a lot of we had Rory Cochrane as Jerry Tarkanian because that's who Jerry Buss was trying to get for head coach.
Tark the Shark.
Shark.
Yeah, that episode is so good. We get that great cliffhanger of because that's the episode where Jerry is trying to find another coach, and he goes to Vegas, and man, they do so much. They do such a great job of making the cities in this show and the characters, because all the stuff in LA is very stark difference from stuff we see in Boston. It's just such a different. They do such a good job of building like the atmosphere in these cities, and the stuff in Vegas could not feel any different than LA. Like you could see like the glitz of LA in those episodes, but the glitz in Vegas is just different. It just has like this layer of like seediness under it.
Yeah.
And they do that so quickly because we only have that one episode in Vegas. It's not like they show a lot of it, but they do it so quickly. Like the way that Jerry is like welcomed and everything is just like, yeah, sure, right here, Mr. Buss, right this way in LA. But then he's in Vegas. It's kind of just like almost like this like unsettling atmosphere that like, yeah, sure, come on in, Mr. Buss, but at the same time he's looking around like, what's going on here that I don't know about? Like, and so all the scenes where they've got the mob stuff in Vegas, and he's kind of like, I'm gonna get this guy, I'm gonna pay for him, what's the problem? And then we get that cliffhanger at the end where the guy gets killed, and it's like, oh my god. Whoa.
Right. Oh man, that's a crazy episode. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think they did there were moments in this show when they would do like text up on the screen and said, "This really happened," that kind of thing.
Yes.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that episode is really good. That cliffhanger like threw me for a loop. I was like, wow. The stuff with Vegas and Tark the Shark, which that is a true story that they did want Tark the Shark. And of course, Tark is famous for being the coach of UNLV, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I honestly, I'm diving back in. I think I'm going to watch all 2 seasons of this again. I'm several episodes into the first season, but not wrapped it up. So yeah, it's such an enjoyable show, man. Honestly, really, from start to finish, it's really good.
Yeah, I really liked that episode where he goes to Vegas. That stinker at the end just like blew my mind when I saw it. I was like, oh my God. And supposedly like all of this stuff with the mob and Tarkinen is close to truth. But of course we'll never know if it's really true.
That's true. Hey man, what happens in Vegas? I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, when you have money involved and organized crime, yeah. And I mean, I'm sure that there was a lot of that going around with basketball back then because it's not what it is now. And I'm sure that betting on basketball was definitely different back then.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. Yeah, 100%. Spencer Garrett as Chick Hearn. I meant to mention him earlier. You don't come away from this show being a Chick Hearn fan, Phil. He is not portrayed in a I think if anybody should have been upset, I don't know if it should have been Jerry West, because like Chick Hearn is a complete a-hole in this show, man.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see some people being unhappy with their portrayal in the show, but
Michael Cooper, also portrayed by Delonte D'Souza.
Mm-hmm.
As Michael Cooper. We had Jamel Atkins as Jamal Wilkes. I'm just trying to round out the players here. Austin Aaron as Mark Landsberger. Let's see. Joey Brooks as Lon Rosen. John Young as Brad Holland, season 1. Yeah, I mean, I think they went out of their way. I think they did a good job of casting the teams. I think everybody looked good. I think everybody made sense. Jerry Buss's Inner Circle, they couldn't have got a better cast. Brett Cullen as Bill Sharman is fantastic. Brett Cullen's been acting forever. He's very, very good. Very talented guy. I mean, again, Phil, as we said at the beginning here, this cast is top-notch, man, honestly. I don't find fault in anything here, really.
Yeah. I think when we see David Stern, for a little bit we see him. He kind of looks picture perfect.
Mm-hmm. He does. That's Andy Hirsch. You're right. He does look like him. Yeah, we even got Donald Sterling.
Yeah, the Donald Sterling clip was very funny in context. The way they used it, very funny.
Kirk Boville. Yeah, excellent job there. We have to also mention Ari Grainer, who played Honey, who was a big-time character in season 2. I mean, Jerry Buss did a lot of things right. But, and again, kids, we're talking about characters here. He did a lot of things right, but man, the female side of this, maybe not so right. There's moments when you're like, man, this guy's making some bad decisions. And yeah, I mean, I liked her quite a bit. I thought she was breath of fresh air for season 2, and then things go south with that. So, but I thought she was good for the time she had.
I thought she was a good character. I thought that she added to the dynamic between Jerry and Jeannie in a lot of ways. I think the tension growing between Jerry and Jeannie and putting her in the middle of it was entertaining. As somebody that is a product of divorce, it is never, ever fun when your parents start dating someone else. And you have to deal with that person trying to be in your life and trying to, I don't know, like trying to make a relationship with you. And it's just like, no, you're not my mom or you're not my dad. I don't want to do this with you. And it's very uncomfortable. So all that stuff, I totally understood Jeannie's point of view. It's just like, whatever. Like, like I just don't like the scene where she is trying to have a smoothie with her in the morning, and she's just like, your car's in the way, move your car. And she's just like, yeah, but I just want to talk to you for a minute. She's just like, I'm late for work. Get your car out of the way. Like, I don't want to talk to you. I totally understand it. But at the same time, she does some great acting. The stuff that she does with John C. Reilly and their arguments is so good. Because she goes from, he met her as like a woman that was doing like all the party life stuff with him, and then she went and just got like a normal life, and then he brought her back in. And then he kind of got upset at one point that she started doing the partying and everything that he was doing again. But what did you expect? You reintroduced her into this lifestyle that she tried to leave behind. Their arguments in the last few episodes were done very well. The episode when she comes in and she's like, "We're married," and he's like, yeah, I was there.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, that's really good. I mean, you know, let's be honest. You don't really root for Bus all that much because in the first season, he's kind of he's not a great guy. He's not a great guy. You know, his kids are there. They got that flashback episode, and you know, he's doing stuff he shouldn't be doing, and we see him continue to make bad decisions. Like, none of these people are perfect, Phil. None of them are anybody you should be looking up to in terms of morality's sake. But it is very entertaining, if nothing else, man, because Riley's so good at what he does here. Sally Field, I didn't mean to brush by her. Sally Field's good in everything she's ever done, and she anchors the show. I mean, yeah. You know, shame to see the character go, but understanding they're sticking to timeline as much as I guess they wanted to or whatever. But yeah, I thought she was great. Again, another yin and yang relationship. And like, they really put over the fact that Dr. Buss is like, you know, he and his mom are extremely close. You know what I mean? So I think it works. Yeah.
Oh man, Dr. Buss in that season, and his mother's dying, and you know, his mother passed away, and then he's like trying to creep on his mother's nurse, and
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's great stuff, but also like, ooh, yuck. Definitely gave you this ick feeling.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it was creepy. It was beyond creepy. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, we had a lot of other players portrayed here, kids. And again, this cast is effing huge. I mean, we could take a few episodes just to cover all the cast in depth, which would not be an easy prospect because, again, they went out of their way to put the bodies on the court, to portray historical figures. God, I use the word historical with a basketball show, but I mean, there's no better way to say it, honestly. Who was it that was his ex-wife? Because we don't see her very often. I think we see her more on the phone than we do in real life, don't we?
Yeah, she appears more in the first season than she does in the second season.
Yeah, I think so.
We of course get to tie back to that when we find out why his relationship with Honey goes awry, because of course he's still married to his first wife. That turns into a big argument. But we don't really see his ex much in the second season. But yeah, we saw a bunch of. I was very surprised to see Debbie Allen, even though, like, when I thought about it, I was like, oh yeah, her and Norm were married.
Right.
But we got like a brief Debbie Allen cameo,
and a Paula Abdul cameo as well.
We did, but
Irina Conti.
Like we did, but that's what I'm saying. Like, the Lakers at that point in Hollywood, they were the center of the universe for a lot of people in LA.
Tanika Gibson as Debbie Allen. What did you think about and again, dude, in episode 1, it looks like this purchase is not going to happen. Like, he's trying to get the money together. He's doing cash and he's doing, you know, land as well, like property. I mean, if you didn't know any better, you would think, well, they're not going to make this happen. It kind of felt like this guy just really wanted to own a basketball team, and he saw potential where no one else did, with a failing team that was just getting worse and wasn't doing great. They were mediocre if they were anything, and this guy manages to scrape it together. It feels like an underdog story from the first season, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that that's what makes this such a compelling story as well about what the Lakers organization became. You cannot imagine somebody trying to buy an NBA team by those means today. It just wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen.
Because he almost did it with smoke and mirrors, man. Honestly, like
Yeah. But I think you're supposed to get this idea that he willed and dealed to get this team, and then it became what it became, like this lucrative juggernaut, in sports.
Yeah.
Which is really a really cool story. But yeah, no, I just can't imagine somebody going through those means to buy a basketball team today. It just wouldn't happen. The 80s were definitely a different time. Money and everything is just totally different now. Like the value of an NBA team today is just so different.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no doubt about it. Joanne Mueller as Dr. Buss's first wife, and basically, if not for her help at the last second, giving him what they said was a $2 million loan.
Wow.
This purchase. I mean, just listen. If you got $2 million laying around, Phil, and you can spare it. I mean, I'm trying. Yeah, I just like to try to buy a team. So if you can make that happen, that's insane, man.
Yeah, crazy.
$2 million in that day and age is probably, I don't know, 10 million now, if not more. 15 million maybe. I don't know. Crazy numbers, man. Throwing it around like it's nothing. Yeah, I would love to see this get new life. I don't know how it would happen. It kind of feels like it's dead in the water, which is a shame. I can't believe that it didn't win. Or, put it to you this way, that the accolades of this show don't, in my opinion, don't measure up to what it could have done. Of everything it had been nominated for, it won 2 awards. One was Black Reel Awards for television, for Outstanding Supporter for Wood Harris, for Supporting Actor, and it won Best Ensemble for TV for the Satellite Awards. And everything else that it was nominated in are awards that maybe you've not heard of, and they're not major. In other words, like they're not Emmys, which is shocking, actually.
Yeah. I really hope that this show finds new life and eventually comes back in some way. I would really hate for the series to end on that note.
Yeah, same here. It'd be a shame if that happened. Yeah.
Because, I mean, I think the last episode is very good until it becomes clear that we're not getting another season. And they kind of plop in this, like, almost like after credit scene with, like, Jeannie and Jerry in a stadium that doesn't match any of the rest of the season or that episode. And then we get that montage of where everybody is now. It just kind of feels like this is just like, no, this feels like a very unnatural ending to this episode and the series. Like, because the series is ending on, the season is ending on this note of them losing to the Celtics, and it's supposed to be like this great cliffhanger to see where do all these characters go next. And then they were just like, hey, and by the way, they rode off into the sunset. See you later, guys. Like, what?
Yeah. Well, again, supposedly the story here, kids, is that they didn't know, so they filmed 2 endings. And that they did try to tie the ending back to the first episode, Phil, because in the first episode, it ends with Bus on the floor laying down saying, I own this. I own this. He just keeps repeating that. So they tried to do the circle back with him and his daughter at the end of season 2, but it doesn't work because it feels premature.
Yeah, it feels premature and it feels very much tacked on. It doesn't fit the tone of that season or that episode. But I thought all the stuff in that episode was very good. The way that they filmed the finals and how every game had its like different story to it was really, really good. I thought once we get to the last episode and the Lakers are mounting this comeback and it looks like they can still win and they still take this crushing loss to Boston, it's very, very good. The way that they contrast the celebration in Boston's locker room and the Lakers locker room and just like, man, that scene of Magic in the shower. Oh man, it just really sucks we're not getting another season, man. You can't just leave it on that, man.
Yeah, the original ending of season 2 was Magic Johnson sitting on the floor of the Lakers locker room showers and absorbing the team's heartbreaking defeat at the hands of the Celtics. And that's the ending. That's how season 2 was supposed to have ended. But however, they filmed that additional scene that's set 5 days later because they got word that they had been canceled. So I guess they had filmed it as a backup, or they had been quietly told before the end of season 2. So they had that in their back pocket and just kept it hush-hush.
Yeah, man. I thought the way they ended they filmed all of that stuff for the finals was really good. Like I said, the contrast of the locker rooms with the Led Zeppelin record playing over it, really, really good, man.
Mm-hmm. Excellent for sure. Yeah. Yeah, that was, the scene was shot in January. It was a new scene created to directly address the question that HBO gave us. Then there's an epilogue that runs with shots from the show. Yeah, it's bleh.
Yeah, the tacked on ending didn't really work for me. The montage made it feel even more weird. Like, okay, It just felt very abrupt.
And much in the same way, kids, if anyone listening has gotten into Ted Lasso is not about English football. English football is just a device for the show. The show's about the people. I mean. Right. Phil, it's 5 episodes into season 1 before we actually see a game being played, which is very telling. I mean, this show is, it's about the game, but it's not. It's about the people behind it, which I think you have to do, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's very clearly about the rise of the Lakers as a powerhouse in basketball, but it's also very much about, this dichotomy around them, whether it be the Celtics. It seemed like they were building towards getting the Pistons as a team on there eventually. Man, when you think about all of the places this could have gone, they could have gone to the final series with the Bulls. We could have gotten Jordan. We could have gotten all that stuff, man.
And you know what? Maybe that's how you wrap the show up.
Yeah, him passing the torch off. Magic passing the torch off to Jordan, and like that was probably been the last season, maybe, but. There was so much stuff you could have done in the meantime because this last season, season 2 ends in what year? 84?
I think so.
They don't lose to the Bulls until 1990, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah, it took a while.
Yeah. So in between that, you had 7 years of basketball, and that's like you had the rest of their rivalry with the Celtics. You had the stuff with the Pistons.
Mm-hmm.
You had so much stuff you could tackle by then. And even after the Bulls series, you still have stuff like Magic's diagnosis. You have his return to the Lakers after his diagnosis. There was so much stuff that you could have done with the show.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, God, man, it's still going back over all this again, and it just happened. It's not like it's been off the air forever, but man, yeah.
It's a shame. You have Jeannie's rise to prominence as owner of the team. We
could have seen Phil Jackson.
You could have seen Phil Jackson. You could have possibly seen Kobe.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was so much stuff they could have done with the show, man.
Boy, that would have been interesting. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame, man, for sure. Again, we mentioned him way early into this show, but Adam McKay, I mean, he's the man. Without him, none of this happens. He's an executive producer. I've not gotten into Succession, but I've heard great things about it, and he's the guy behind that. So, he's had a career in Hollywood going back quite a while. So, yeah, I mean, again, inaccuracies aside, whatever, but, I'm not looking at it like I'm watching this show for historical fact. I'm not doing that, dude. If I want historical fact, I can go to ESPN.com. I can pick up a book. I can read interviews. I mean, my goodness, it's not hard to find it.
Yeah, HBO has a very good documentary on the Celtics and Lakers documentary. There's a very good documentary on there about Magic. There's a good one on there about Larry Bird. Of course, there's a 30 for 30 series that's about the Lakers versus Boston rivalry as well. Also very good.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, we talked about the Celtics being the villains, how they managed to pull that off with the Showtime entertainment, sex, drugs, and Hollywood style of the Lakers next to the gritty working class guy, work for everything you have, blue collar Celtics, who you should probably be pulling for. But it's amazing how they flipped the script here and played those guys to be the heavies, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think, of course, it's all, points of view. And from their point of view, Boston is the enemy. And I think they do a great job of portraying it. Like we've said before, like the guy to play Larry Bird is great. But in those scenes in the finals where Mikhail accidentally starts that fight, and he's just like, if you go over there and break up that fight, you have to deal with me. He has that very cold, stern look on his face.
Mm-hmm.
And then now he's just like, now it's our game. And he takes over. So good.
Mm. Yeah, I think basically what got this show at the end of the day was ratings. Season 2 did not hold up to season 1. Obviously, players were very outspoken. People who were portrayed in the show was very outspoken. I don't think that helped anything either. I mean, it's just one of those things. Even Jeff Pearlman, the writer that got all this started, was on social media posting and begging fans to help bring the viewership up, trying to get people to watch. That's where it had gotten to, which is a shame. But yeah, it's just one of those things, man. Nothing lasts forever. And if this show, let's be honest, Phil, if this show had 4 years, I don't know if they could have gotten everything done. I mean, it's possible, cram everything into 4 seasons, but the pacing of this show felt like they're playing it in real time to some degree. You know what I mean? That's kind of how it felt to me.
Yeah. I thought they did a good job at deciding when to do like the fast forwards and when to stop and slow it down and focus on a part of the season or focus on a period in time. Because, of course, in the second season, we fast forward to their second championship. And they do a good job of going through, like, what happened in the sophomore drought after that championship. Man, it's just so many other things that they could have done from then on. Because, I mean, they kind of drive home the point, like, yeah, we won a championship, but it wasn't against them, so it doesn't matter. They won a championship, but it wasn't against us. And so you build to the crescendo at the end of the season that is finally our chance to prove ourselves against the Celtics, and then they lose. And that's supposed to be like a great cliffhanger to get us into the third season, and it's just, man, missed opportunity. Big missed opportunity.
Huge missed opportunity, yeah. Well, kids, you got the 2 seasons. That's all we can do for you. We can't make magic here. We're not, we can't pull a rabbit out of a hat. It is what it is. It's just one of those things where, you just go back and watch the 2 seasons and enjoy them. Enjoy the stellar performances. This cast nails it. I mean,
yeah.
Even listen, Phil, if none of this were rooted in any sort of fact, if none of these events ever happened, this is still a heavily entertaining show. 100%.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm here for it. Well, there you go, kids. There's winning time. Again, we could probably spend another 2 hours on this and maybe still not be done, just as they maybe could have spent another couple of seasons and still not been done. But unfortunately for us, if you're a fan of the show, it's actually done for real. So, yeah, we'll see if anything comes around in the future. Don't know if it will or not, but keep your fingers crossed, kids. Weirder things have happened. So, Phil, what do you think? Let's try to put a bow on it. What's your last word on winning time?
I think if you're a fan of basketball or even like a fan of HBO style of television, I think you're really going to enjoy the show. If you have not seen it, you're probably going to get to the end of this show and feel like we do, like, man, really could have used the third season. But I think for the 2 seasons we got some really, really good TV.
Totally agree. I can't say any better. Yeah, it's really good stuff, man. Again, as Phil said, if you're a basketball fan, do yourself a favor and check this out if you haven't, because you'll take something away from it. And if you're just a fan of the human story, man, which sounds way bigger than I meant it to, but there's enough drama here. There's enough in the relationships to keep you coming back and to keep you interested 100%. So yeah, I'm here for it. Well, kids, stay tuned. We'll see if anything happens with this show. And listen, let's be honest. Bird versus Magic was so huge. It'll stand the test of time. It's a rivalry no sports fan, even if you're not a basketball guy, no sports fan will ever forget. And yeah, again, it'll be with us for all time. So don't be surprised if we cover it again here at some point on the show. You never can tell, kid. So we appreciate you folks very much. Stay tuned for more. And in the meantime, that is winning time.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Check out our social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 6M Podcast. We'll see you next time.